back, folks. It's going to be getting a little dark on us here, but we'll try to shoot this quickly. We're going to be talking today about flatbeds versus pickup beds on trucks. And this is a topic that I think most people, myself included, up until more recently, put zero thought into. I never really even considered the fact that there's really nothing that says a pickup truck has to be a pickup bed, like a conventional bed, right? Obviously flatbeds are everywhere in a lot of different industries for commercial trucks, but nobody thinks of it on like a more personal truck level to do a flatbed setup. Obviously, essentially every what I'll call personal truck, non-commercial truck is sold with a pickup bed. In order to get a flatbed, typically you would order a cab and chassis truck, which would be a dually. It would be a 3500 or up, which is outside of what most people need. And then if you're talking the half-ton market, generally speaking, if you were to put a flatbed on one, you're probably going to overload it with tools and accessories and be over the truck's payload. Not always, but it's a little more likely just because the flatbed does give you a lot of storage compartments to house extra gear on the truck. But hear me out. So let me circle back for a minute. I'm specifically talking about a half-ton truck, an F250, an F350, a Silverado 2500, 3500, more consumer grade, that's the word for it, truck, being a flatbed, right? So coming from the GM dealer, coming from the Ford dealer, coming from the Ram dealer with a flatbed option, not a pickup bed. What I would love to see, and what I think would be really useful for a lot of people's lifestyles, is a nice aluminum, so it doesn't rust, because that's one thing flatbeds and service bodies love to just immediately rust. But do aluminum, do it color match the vehicle so it looks nicer, give it clean, a little bit more rounded lines, not just really square and boxy. Give it a nice bumper setup with a more conventional hitch so that you don't lose kind of some of the pickup truck functionality. Some service bodies just have like a pintle hitch hook up and stuff like that, which for your average consumer is just not really the best setup, right? So just a very consumer level flatbed. And I think a lot of people would buy it. Here's why I say that. For example, if you're hauling a UTV or a four-wheeler in the bed of your truck right now, okay? Four-wheelers and UTVs have gotten huge. The beds of trucks have only gotten marginally bigger. A lot of them won't even fit in the bed of the truck. Yet, if you have an F250 or a 350, you've got plenty of payload for the thing. It's just that you can't physically fit it. If you had a single rear-wheel truck with a flatbed, you would all of a sudden have plenty of room to fit that UTV or bigger ATV. So that's just one example. Things like loading motorcycles. You could easily mount a winch to the front of that flatbed, because they essentially have like a back rack built in. You could mount a winch, you could winch up your motorcycle, so you're not trying to sketchily drive it up ramps or, have to find a hill or something to get it on there. You could still make this flatbed have a tailgate and foldable sides potentially if you want it to be kind of a blend of like a pickup box in a flatbed. That's always an option too. It just gives you a lot of versatility. And then the big one is there's a lot of dead space on a pickup bed in front, forward and back of the rear tire that a flatbed has, either you can mount or they come with, a lot of them come with it, toolboxes that you can put whatever you want in there, right? So imagine if all your under-seat storage that you have in the truck, that's like your only lockable weatherproof storage. You would now all of a sudden have essentially twice that amount of lockable, interior storage, because you'd have all those boxes on the outside of the truck that you could lock and put tools in. But for a consumer, it could even just be a cooler. You're taking the kids on a road trip and you got a baby bag and whatever else, right? So it's just useful, clean, dry, secure storage that you just don't have in a regular pickup box. And then you kind of come back to the whole, I'll put a tonneau cover on it, which I do, and I like tonneau covers, and I like plastic bins and all that kind of stuff in a pickup bed. But one of the biggest disadvantages of that setup is the bed rails are tall, and you have to get into the bed of the truck. Now, obviously, some of the more expensive trucks have the different bed steps and the bumper steps, and the GM has the multi-function tailgate, and all that stuff's fine and dandy for getting in the bed of the truck. But you've still got to pop the tailgate down, set up whatever step option you happen to have, whatever brand truck you have, peel your tonneau cover back, get to your item, and then bring it back out of the truck. If you've got a flatbed and you've got boxes on the sides and you've maybe got some bins strapped to the flatbed, you're right there. You literally just undo a strap, get your bin out, or, you know, if you have a mounted side load toolbox on top of the flatbed even, there's just a million and one options to have more easily accessible storage for those kind of items. Additionally, if they designed it correctly, again, we go back to these foldable sides that I'm talking about, you could either do foldable or removable, and you could totally do a tonneau cover type setup. Yes, your bed height would be a little lower because your bed to the window of the cab would be shorter, so that'd be a disadvantage. But you could still have like a tonneau cover setup. You'd have a lot more width surface area to work with. The cool thing about flatbeds too is if you have, which in my opinion all flatbeds should have, stake pocket sides, you know, basically the same rub rail that a like deck over trailer has. If you have that, well then all of a sudden you've got infinite tie down points practically. You can easily build like nice wooden sides, or they could sell like a plastic, like a, you know, consumer grade hard plastic side that you could drop in there and, you know, make yourself a nice dump, or like not dump trailer-esque, but, you know, just put sides on your flatbed so you could haul brush or do whatever you're trying to do. And again, right, all of these functions are, it's kind of bridging the gap between a standard, just they bought a F-150 to use as a family commuter type vehicle, bridging that guy to the guy who's running a commercial operation and has like a service body. And I just think there is that market of that, and I think I am that market of an F-250 owner, single rear wheel, gas engine. I'm not towing anything super heavy, but I am towing a lot. I am hauling a motorcycle. I am hauling various wood and brush and tools and project items, like whatever the heck it is in the bed of the truck. You know, freaking hauling a motor for somebody at some point, or myself. Like there's just random stuff in the bed of my trucks at any given time like that. And the bed of the truck works fine, but I just think a flatbed setup might work better. Now, I actually had a friend tell me before I made this video, I just was kind of having this conversation with him. Apparently Ford allows you to do a bed delete from the factory, and I did not go on the Ford website and spec it out, but from what I understand, on essentially any trim level truck, you can spec out the entire truck and then check a box and not have it come with a bed. Not exactly sure if maybe it's only on XLs and it's not actually every trim. I didn't look that far, to be honest with you. But if that's true, which I think I'm sure it's true, but if you could do that on any trim level truck, that gets you halfway there for sure. But let's be honest, a lot of guys, kind of myself included, don't necessarily want to have to go through the hassle of like finding a flatbed supplier, speccing out what you want, waiting for it to be built, taking your truck somewhere and having it down for a week as they install it, or insourcing all that work and, you know, taking my brand new to me truck that doesn't have a bed on it and retrofitting this, or, you know, bolting on this flatbed onto my truck and making the time to do all that. Not that I can't make the time for it, you know, maybe I just don't want to, right? So it'd be cool if the Ford, Chevy, Dodge dealerships actually had that option from the factory, and they just had a few flatbed options available that if you ordered a truck would come with the flatbed, or they just had them on their lot with flatbeds, so some amount of the trucks. And I do believe, well, I'm pretty sure of this, in fact, that from a lot of dealers that sell the commercial grade vehicles, they can work with upfitters and have flatbeds installed on trucks, as well as like, you know, if you were to make like a dumpster hauler or something like that, you can have, you know, all that truck upfit before you take delivery. And that's pretty close to what I'm saying, but they still are going through a third party. There's a lot of added time. It would just be kind of neat if like right from the Ford factory, it was a Ford flatbed, it was a Chevy flatbed, it was a Ram flatbed, and it was all like really well integrated into the truck's camera systems and, you know, held all the features that you would expect from a truck with a pickup bed. And that's where the upfitters do a great job, but it is still like an aftermarket part. There's aftermarket wiring. It would just be neat if it was the OEM doing the work. So I don't know. Maybe there's not enough of a market for it, and that's why they haven't done it. Obviously, I really have no idea, but I just think, at least for my use case, I would love it. You know, you could make a flatbed with an auxiliary fuel tank, for example, which is something that I, you know, put in my trucks. And like I said, for loading bigger objects and having the width and all that stuff. So anyway, I just think that the flatbed is an underappreciated tool for the super consumer, or whatever you want to call somebody who is not a commercial guy. I'm not using a truck every single day to its max, but I am using it pretty thoroughly, right? I'm getting my money's worth out of that truck. I didn't buy a truck to, go to the mall in. I'm actually towing with it. I'm actually hauling with it. And I think that user might have a better experience with that setup. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.